one thing he said, of all of the images that we've seen in the 12 hours that we've been here, it is a scene of New Yorkers calmly evacuating the area, very slowly walking, no panic, no screaming, helping one another, that has stayed with us. It is not the most dramatic picture, but it is one of the most telling pictures we have seen about how people respond in moments of extraordinary crisis. Paula?
I'll also tell you, Arian, the story that hasn't been told is the generosity of the spirit of the New York people. I mean, a lot of New Yorkers get a bad rap here, but the fact is there was a plea made for people to donate blood, and at many area hospitals there were as many as 4 to 5 hour waits. Yeah. People lining up.
This is a city that has taken a number of terrible hits in recent time, but in moments like this, it is truly the best of us that we saw today. And I don't think it's simply New Yorkers. I think we would have seen this most anywhere else. But they're a tough group out there below us, 30 or 20 floors, and they handled an awful, awful experience today with extraordinary calm, to which I think we all are grateful.
All right, right now I'm going to check in with James Kallstrom, who was formerly of the FBI. Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, sir, can you explain to the American public how it is possible that 4 commercial airliners were hijacked in a several-hour period?
I don't think we can explain that right now, Paula. I mean, we'll be answering those questions in the future. I can tell you this, that everyone in law enforcement and the intelligence agencies prayed and hoped that something like this would never happen. It has happened. I thought the president gave a great speech tonight. I was particularly impressed. It's a bit redundant from the other speakers, but his discussion of there will be no difference between those that committed this horrendous act and those that supported, harbored, assisted this horrific act. I think that's a very, very key point. And as the days roll out, the United States, this great country we all live in, and the heroism that you saw on the streets of New York, I saw that day in and day out in smaller tragedies, and I'm sure we see that throughout the United States. But as the days wear on, the United States and the Allies, if they carry out what the President said, we'll be far better off for it.
If you would, sir, though, would you come back to the vulnerability that was exposed today? What is the significance that 2 planes were successfully hijacked from Boston? What is the significance of the fact that all 4 of these flights were cross-country flights?
Well, I mean, I think we can read into that, Paula. I don't know the answers. It would seem like the interesting and tragic thing is that people would give their lives that could also fly sophisticated airplanes, that they apparently could get on these airplanes through generally good screening techniques. I heard one report that they were carrying knives or box cutters, and that could be.
How do you get through security with box cutters on you?
Well, I'm not going to go into all the different ways that could happen, and I don't know exactly what happened. I don't think now is the time to try to figure that out. Obviously, people want to know that answer, but I think now let's concentrate on the dead, the families, those that are still alive in the rubble in New York, in the Pentagon, out in Pennsylvania. Let's work like crazy to find out who did this. That's what's going on right now. And let's bring those folks to justice. And let's do what the President said. Let's see no difference between those that did it and those that helped it, harbored it, assisted it. Let's do that.
If you would walk us through the process that begins tomorrow. Rescue workers still are not able to penetrate that perimeter area surrounding the World Trade Center because of falling debris, because of smoke. Walk us through what we can expect tomorrow.
More of the same. I mean, I think everybody is 24 hours a day now. I mean, I saw reports just a while back that close to 200 New York City firemen are missing. 40 or 50 New York City police officers are missing. And certainly all the people that are in the World Trade Center are missing. So there's been a valiant attempt already to save lives, and that'll continue.
All right, Mr. Kallstrom, thank you so much for your time this evening. Right now, Aaron and I are going to hand this back to Wolf, who continues to stand by in Washington.
Thank you very much, Paula. And I want to report what a senior administration official is telling CNN, that the President's National Security Council will be convening once again shortly to review what has happened and presumably to discuss some various options about what is happening. President Bush, of course, will be participating together with his National Security Advisor, Condoleezza Rice, Secretary of State Colin Powell, the Defense Secretary, Donald Rumsfeld, and the Vice President, Dick Cheney. When we get some information on that, of course, we'll report that as well. But I want to bring in CNN's Greta Van Susteren. You were at National Airport early this morning when that American Airlines Flight 77 slammed into the Pentagon. What did you see, Greta?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, I was on a flight on a runway to go to New York. It was canceled because they said 2 planes had run into the building in New York, so they canceled our flight. I got off the plane. I headed back to my car to come back to work. I was on the rooftop of National Airport's parking lot, which is about 2 blocks from the Pentagon, and I heard something funny. Well, no, first my husband said to me, "We better get out of here," and I thought it was a little bit strange. My husband's acting a little bit like an alarmist. I turned back to look at him. I heard something funny. I looked over his shoulder. I saw something. I'm not sure quite what it was, but low level. Then all of a sudden there was silence. Then there was a kaboom, and then smoke came billowing out, and I knew that it was the Pentagon. The Pentagon's about 2 blocks, of course, from National Airport, hidden behind some buildings. And there was just smoke and debris flying all over, coming up in the air. Obviously a very terrible sight.
And we're taking a look at some live pictures right now. You can see the fires still continuing at the Pentagon now, some 12 hours later. What was your first thought, though, when you heard that kaboom? Did you have any sense what was really going on?
At that point, I knew there was a big problem. I knew it was the Pentagon, and I knew that something horrible had happened, and I could see the magnitude of it. And it was really one of terror, because we had no idea, was there more coming? Was National Airport next? It was only 2 blocks away. Cell phones went down. I tried 2 cell phones, was having difficulty getting through. I finally did get through to CNN, but the traffic was tied up. You heard plenty of sirens and almost no information till I got in the car and did find out what happened. You know, and always, you know, in addition to having to witness this, several hours later, of course, I learned that someone who I know quite well, Barbara Olson, who's appeared on this network a number of times, and whose husband is the Solicitor General of the United States, was one of the fatalities on the airplane. So, obviously, and many other people, of course, are suffering tonight. But that, of course, you know, is even more dismaying. And
all of us, of course, who've worked at CNN knew Barbara Olson very, very well, and our hearts and our condolences go out to her family and Ted Olson, the Solicitor General. A very, very sad day for the Olsons, of course, for the entire country. Greta, put on your legal hat now. What is going to happen legally right now? Walk us through what we can expect.
Well, first, obviously, I can't tell you what the President of the United States is going to do, but there seems to be at least something the country is going to do. The President obviously has indicated the country is going to do something. But assuming that action is done, something is done, the President, there's also the possibility of some sort of legal remedy. It's not much of a remedy, but you can always, it has happened in the past, is that we've gone over and nabbed terrorists, brought them back to this country, and tried them for terrorist acts here on American soil, or for acts that they've committed against American buildings overseas. And of course, they can get the death penalty if proven guilty. What's interesting about this, and what people should know, is that oftentimes it's done in a conspiracy charge, and if you have any involvement in a conspiracy, for instance, you just stick your toe in the water of a conspiracy, you're in for the whole thing. So a lot of people can be brought into a conspiracy for almost just a minor act aiding the conspiracy. Not just the ones who were responsible for planning and causing the deaths, but if you in any way just assisted a little bit, you're in for the conspiracy and you could face the death penalty.
All right, Greta Van Susteren, thank you very much.